Oh, what's good? We about to tap into this full event. Trump gives an interview by Forbes. Let's tap in.
Calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I...
That man said, you don't even greet me how you supposed to. You just go right in the BS, ain't it? But on the serious note, I mean, he got a point though. Like, you didn't even greet the man. You just went straight in. Like, you kind of said, bump the man and get straight in the interview. You didn't even greet him properly. That's tough.
I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
I would love if you could answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another 4 years.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
For you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll...
It look like interview go wrong. Man, look like Trump look like he about to walk out the interview. He look like he get irritated, man. I mean, but dang, they got late for the interview of Trump. Like what? Yeah, how y'all get late? Y'all supposed to be the interviews. Y'all supposed to have y'all equipment. How he arrived before y'all? Dang, he's speaking his word right now. Damn.
We'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a definition
the words.
then. Would you give me a definition?
DEI.
Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct question.
Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She is always identified as a Black woman.
I mean, but Kamala Harris though, like on a serious note, like I don't really feel like she do support the Black people. I feel like she's only try to support like she said, like the Indians, and then And then too, like she married to a white man, like, and then too, like that's like a whole nother topic. But let's be real though. Like, is she really trying to do for the black people though? Like, let's keep it a buck. Like, it kind of seemed like she trying to do it for the, the other side of the Caucasians. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it don't feel like she really trying to do for the black people. If we just keeping it a buck. And then too, Judge Joe Brown even said she get around the whole thing. She, you know what I mean? She do her thing to get to climb the ladder. Like, you know what I mean? You do stuff behind closed doors that Judge Joe Brown exposed that he even called her a thought. Like, like, come on now, like she do anything just to climb the ladder and to get in the higher positions. Like, come on, man. Whack it. Whack.
Either one. I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think somebody should look into that too when you ask.
Hello.
Continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I really
Republicans have
don't
said?
know. I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length, and we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well, you told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr.
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that, and Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs, and frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
Sure.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts. And this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms. When you look statistically, how do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment. Because I guess, this woman was unable to get the.
Damn. He said they can't even afford the right equipment. Damn. Damn, that's tough. I mean, that's great.
Right equipment, but it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country.
I mean, inflation, Biden had a big part of that. You know what I mean? Everything went up because of Biden. You know what I mean? Gas prices, the food, and everything. Like, you know what I mean? And it was like, they was even saying, too, like, Biden he couldn't even mentally even get back in the election because he couldn't even walk and he couldn't even mentally think. Like, and it was like, you know what I mean? Biden wouldn't have really did anything. You know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't have did anything. And sometimes he come off like you could barely hear what he's saying at times. Like, if we keeping it, let's keep it P for a second. Let's keep it P. If we being real, like, come on, man. Like, nobody want to see Biden back. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Everything was going up because of Biden. Like, he did have a portion of playing inflation. Come on now.
Buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community probably as much or
So what do
more
you do?
than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls. And then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And
I mean, I could barely hear what Biden was even saying for real. Like, it sounded like that man Biden was lost. Like, he didn't have a clue what he was really saying. Like, it sounded like they was telling that man to say this in his ear. Like, it sounded like you could hear cookie crumbs when he was talking. Like,
poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight. A prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing what you say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him.
Do you ever wonder how the swamp spends your hard-earned money? They drop large sums of money we don't have.
Our whole campaign was steered toward him. And now we have to steer it to him. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting Black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed Black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again,
are they going to be charging the officer? I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine an
You go
innocent
after
mistake?
somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous. And they have, the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make a, life and death decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult.
Yeah, they just don't want to see that man back in office. They try to bury that man under the dirt, under the sun. Like, we just keeping it P. Let's keep it P. But yeah, man. I feel like law enforcement, they gotta do a better job. But at times, like, you need the police because, end of the day, they there to serve and do their job. And violence, that a lot of that stuff be over nothing. Like being in a gang and all that. What is that for? Like when you grow up to be a grown man, you got to do something with your life. You can't just be a kid your whole life. Oh, gang banging. Oh, that's cool, man. And then you end up in that grave behind that cell, looking like a fool. Who fault is that? That's on you. You got to take accountability what you do with your life. Like some people choose to look lost. Some people choose to do something about it, and you will be surprised. Like a lot of people choose to play the victim and look lost and sympathy card, and you'll be surprised who do that. Like, and it's real sad. Like, but there's a lot of people that for real that do that.
Case, and I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't because he wasn't president at the time, and he had 50 years worth of documents, and they ruled that he was incompetent, and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent and he can't stand trial, and yet He can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We covered you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over on to
I
different
didn't notice
topics
you
now.
do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where
Sir,
I have
if you
a
don't mind, I'd
hostile
love to.
judge.
We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
No,
topics.
excuse
if
me,
we
you're
can.
the one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator J.D. Vance.
Yeah, man, they don't want that man Trump, man. You know what I mean? Then this is like a interview go wrong. Oh man, this really is pathetic, and it's crazy. Like you come and interview, and then it's like, you know what I mean? It's like you barely, really not even doing the interview. It's just interview go wrong pretty much. But like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Let me know in the comments what y'all think.